We are live. Hello and welcome to the Nerdosphere. I'm one of your hosts, Clayton, joined as always by the biggest palate this side of the Mississippi, Corbin.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well, and hopefully so are my ear holes after you ate your microphone.
I did a sweeping motion. So for those who are listening,
Sweep it into your mouth
and staring. Ever want to know what it was like to be inside my mouth?
Oh God, there it was. Oh goodness. Well, this is the Nerdosphere, and tonight we're going to be discussing the hit HBO Max, The Suicide Squad follow-up, Peacekeeper, which is a show brought to you by writer-director James Gunn, who also did The Suicide Squad, and it follows John Cena's Peacekeeper character. That's what we are discussing tonight. We are going to... It's not... Everybody thinks it's great, and we don't. So that's going to be the main topic. We're going to discuss why it's not as good as everybody thinks it is. But if you didn't know, the Nerdosphere is a podcast that discusses everything from the big screen to the small screen and everything in between, whether it be a book or a movie or a video game or a music or a book. If you can nerd out about it, we're gonna talk about it. And if you like what we do, scroll on down and give us a rating, please. We are going to really beg for some reviews because it seems like iTunes has wiped a bunch of ours. This morning or last night, we had like 180 reviews on the Nerdosphere, all 5 stars, looking real good. And then today, I guess a bunch of accounts got wiped because we only had like 81. So we'd like to, it's super unfortunate because for iTunes specifically, ratings is taken into account for the suggestion algorithm. So when you pull up your podcast app on your iPhone or iPad, when it shows a bunch of stuff that it thinks that you'll like, ratings are taken into account. Now we're still sitting good on 5 stars. We would just like to bolster with more of your voices. If you listen to us on a weekly basis and you like us and you haven't rated, scroll on down and give us a rating, please. It does help get us in front of new ear holes. And if you're on Spotify, they have recently added rating to their podcasts, so be sure to rate us there if that is your platform of choice. And if you really love what we do, check us out over at patreon.com/the Nerdosphere, where you can support us and gain exclusive perks for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month gets you the supplemental podcast. It gets you, what else does it get you?
It's a Nerd Tea.
Nerd Tea.
It also gets you a free PNG version of our logo to make your own merch if you don't want to buy our own merch that you can find over at thenerdosphere.com.
It does. The $5 tier is where you get ad-free podcasts and the ability to submit questions and comments that we may address directly on the show. That is how you communicate with the Nerdosphere, and then it goes up from there. The $5 tier, I think, is probably the best value, just because as we're growing, we're getting more and more advertisers on the regular feed, so our patrons always get to just hear us. They don't have to listen to us helping other people advertise their stuff. They just get to hear our lovely voices. So if that's something that interests you, go over to patreon.com/the Nerdosphere and check it out. That definitely helps us grow and expand and get better things and do different types of content. So we appreciate all the support that we get over there from our patrons.
Indeed.
All right. Well, now that all that's out of the way, do you want to jump right in, or you got some flipping stuff you want to talk about, bro? You got some chit-chatting, bro?
Do I got some chit-chat, bro?
I ain't got no chit-chatting, bro. I've had a boring week.
We got snowed. Yeah, I mean, we're coming off. We talked about last episode about the snowstorm hitting all of us, and we're just kind of coming off of
Hmm.
that monotony. I think the only thing that I do want to talk about in our chit chat is more of just allowing our audience to peek behind the curtain a little bit, have a
Oh
little
my.
more information as far as what to expect. If you've been listening to us on a weekly basis, you know uh, that we love playing video games together and that Tim makes great content because he sucks. But he's all. And having said all of that, it seems like we've been pretty successful in convincing Tim to finally give Destiny a try. He's tried playing it in the past, said it wasn't for him. But if anyone who's played Destiny knows, it can't be a solo experience. Otherwise, you do burn out and you get bored. It's a community experience. You have to do it with people. It's a
Not that
social. It's
you
a social game.
not that you can't do things on your own or that you shouldn't do things on your own, but if you're trying to do everything on your own, first of all, you can't do everything on your own.
That's
There
true.
are certain things that you have to do with either a fire team of 3 or a fire team of 6, or if you're going into Gambit, a fire team of 4. Yeah, have you
Exactly.
thought about that? No, 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 not to like tangent here, but have you
Okay.
thought about how when Destiny 2 first came out, like they started pushing activities to this 4-person fire team? Like strikes were still 3-person, but everything else was 4. Like
Yeah.
Crucible was 4-on-4, Gambit was 4-on-4. You had all
Yes.
this stuff that was 4-on-4. Now that we're back to everything's 3 or 6,
Hmm.
if you're in a raid,
Yeah.
uh, is it weird that Gambit's 4-on-4? Is that weird? Or is
I would say it's not weird, only from the standpoint of the invasion process.
mm,
I think that when you potentially lose someone to go try to invade, the game mode would take so much longer if there were only two people inputting motes. And I think that Gambit already runs the line of like,
being a
this
little too long?
sometimes this takes too long.
Hmm.
So I think that the 4-person is a really good counterbalance to everything else. Make sure that it's moving forward appropriately. Now, I will say that if you're listening to us, you have not dove into Destiny, but with every expansion, we always see a new influx of players. And if you like, you want to get into it, I just really want to make sure that you all understand one thing. When the primeval drops, kill the 2 wizards called the envoys first before doing damage phase on the primeval. Also, pay attention to the mote meter. I don't give a fuck if you're doing a bounty and you have to input 15 motes. If it only requires 12 motes to put into the thing and you have 13, deposit them because I'm not losing this match because you just really want to find 2 more motes and we're all standing around with our fingers in our butts like, come on, dude, we're waiting on you.
Hmm.
I was in a match today. First of all, I got sent into a match in the back half, which I already hate.
Oof.
Like if I'm going into Gambit to do my weeklies, I'm in and out. I can do all my bounties in one round, and then I have to pay 2 more, and I'm done. And I'm out. But when you get put into a middle of the match, it pretty much like secures you're in there for at least 4 matches, which just is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And I get in, and I was playing with that group of people, man. They're like, uh, I I was waiting on them. We needed 5 more motes, and there was a 12 guy, there was an 8 guy, and there was a 7 guy, and they're all just like still collecting.
And all you had to do was deposit, and you would have had the primeval.
Any one of them could have deposited at any time, and we've had a primeval. The other enemy at this time had a primeval.
And they were still collecting modes.
This is one of the rare times where I unmuted the microphone in my controller in case they were logged in to be able to hear stuff,
Yeah.
and I was yelling at them.
Sometimes you got to, man. I mean, we were just complaining the other night doing that astral alignment activity where you got to deliver the big heavy balls from one side of the map to the other. And,
Yeah.
you can only carry it halfway until you're encumbered. And then, like, that's the mechanic. Like, you have to work with your team because you can only carry it so far. And then you're encumbered and can't pick it back up for like 10 seconds. So the next person's got to grab it because otherwise you're standing there for 10 seconds. And we got people who come by and pick it up and, like, take it back to where it spawned instead of taking it to where you're supposed to deposit. And the game flipping tells you where to go. It has a big giant diamond on the map on your screen, blinking and annoying and covering up stuff, saying, hey, put me here. But no, I'm going to walk it all the way back.
All the way back down the hill where we
Because
started.
everybody knows the flashing point on the map means walk away from it. Right? Isn't that what that means?
Indeed. Also, I don't know if the Taken Blight public event is still going to exist post this expansion, but for the love of God, if there is a Taken Blight public event or anything with a similar mechanic, step inside the bubble, step out of the bubble so you have the buff and shoot the giant thing in the sky. That makes it heroic.
All right.
You dumb pieces of shit. Anyways, that tangent aside is all to say that we've convinced Tim to download Destiny and to play with us, which means you're going to be seeing us do a lot of Destiny content. But the fun part is our anime host, Jesse, also is getting back into Destiny for the first time. And Christian's been out there playing with some other loser clan. And so you can expect all of us playing together, making content together that you can also join, because if you play Destiny on any platform, because Destiny is now cross-platform, you can join our clan, the Nerdosphere. You can play with us.
Yeah, that's one big thing. And Destiny is still a pretty popular game. It does get some flack from time to time, but it has maintained a very large player base, especially when new content drops. So if you are a Destiny player and you're going to be coming back for Witch Queen, or if you're interested and you just want to download it because it is free to play, obviously some of the activities you have are going to be behind a paywall because it's brand new content, and that's how they make their money. They release the DLC. But most everything basic, like Crucible, Gambit, Strikes, Destinations, all this stuff is going to be available to free players. You can download it for free and try it if you've ever been curious about it. But all that to say is it is completely cross-platform and cross-platform save. So you could play it on your PlayStation, hop onto your PC, continue your character, hop onto your Xbox, continue your character, and you can play with all those people. We play with our good friend Seth, who we've been with since Destiny 1. He plays on PC, we play on PS5. We play together and do everything.
Exactly.
So don't let that hinder you if you think that, well, I'm on PC or I'm on Xbox and I don't know anybody. You know us. So
you do. And we'll play with you.
Search for the Nerdosphere on Bungie.net in the clan section, or shoot us a message on any of the Facebooks, and we'll get you in there if you're at all interested. So
heck yeah,
building the community over there. Also for gaming, we will be doing a lot of Destiny stuff, so be on the lookout if you're at all interested in watching a stream. But the Sons of the Forest, we've mentioned a few times on the podcast. We had a lot of fun with the first Forest. It's coming out in May, and we are going to be hitting that one hard too as a group. So definitely looking forward to 2022 being the year of games. Doing stuff.
Yeah, so if you like to make a tally mark on how often Corbin and Tim die versus how often Clayton dies, that'll be a fun meta game to play, as well as how many times I scream and how often Tim breaks something.
I feel like there's a good drinking game in there somewhere.
I think that you're right. We should make one.
How many times does Tim break something? If Tim breaks something, you take a shot. If Corbin screams, you sip your beer. If Corbin or Tim dies, that's a double shot.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna get
or
drunk.
when Corbin or Clayton say, "Tim, where the fuck are you?" Take 2 shots if Corbin says Tim's out chasing a butterfly.
Yes. Oh gosh.
We'll make a nice little rule set for you.
And also we didn't mention this in the housekeeping, but $1 on the Patreon gets you access to the Discord, which we're also building. It's basically ready. I don't think that there's quite as many like channels and stuff that we would ultimately like, but it's ready to go. We did a test run using our patrons for not only our Jackbox game nights, but also for the Discord. And that went really well. I know Tim's mentioned it before. So if a Discord with this community is something that interests you, it's only $1 a month to hop into that Discord. So yeah, definitely looking forward to all that. So
definitely. But other than that, yeah, I didn't have much chit chat. I just want to make sure we talked about that and had everyone ready to go, since Witch Queen is just a few weeks away.
Yeah, I don't really have anything either. It's been super boring, man. Snow everywhere. The kids were out of school until today because of all the back roads and everything melting and refreezing, and out at work, the way that my storage facility is set up with gravel and some inclines, like you just got to let the snow melt So like there's not much to do.
Yeah.
So all right, well, let's hop right into the Peacekeeper episode then. You want to start us off, Corbin? What were your initial impressions? What were your thoughts going into it compared to maybe your impressions after watching an episode or two?
Okay, so I got my expectations and stuff.
Yeah, like what were you thinking? Because I think I can confidently say we all were interested.
Yeah, I mean, I was interested from a few perspectives. One, I was interested to this would obviously be kind of a baseline to have any sort of expectations of the quality of any of the shows hitting HBO Max that were DCEU centered, because we know that we're getting a Batgirl show that does have J.K. Simmons as James Gordon, and I mean, at this point, we just need to throw the canon book out the window. I mean, it makes zero sense at this point. That's just okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But we're getting a Batgirl show. We're also getting a Gotham PD show that is based in the world of the Batman. Not going to be like the show Gotham, even though the premise is similar. We won't be following Jim Gordon. We're just going to be following the precinct, it sounds like. And it's going to be prequel to the Batman. I don't know if that's going to be any good, but Matt Reeves is involved, so I'm intrigued at least. So anyways, we have all these shows in production, and Peacekeeper is the first one. And it's like, okay, well, this will give us an idea of what to expect as far as VFX goes, the cinematography of the show. I think that of all the characters in Suicide Squad, this was the one that I did not need a show about. But it's nice to see James Gunn having, well, on one side, it's nice to see James Gunn have total free creative control and free reign to go do something. Like, I'm very happy for him. After the drama with him being fired from Guardians, him getting picked up to do Suicide Squad, not only was a win for him, but it also was a huge win for Warner Brothers. It definitely is the standout DC property. And so far, it is probably the most loved by fans, unless you are a Snyder weirdo. They piss on anything that's not Snyder, so you just can't take their opinions seriously. And then obviously, like, he got rehired at Marvel, so now he just has all these opportunities. And I do think that James Gunn as a voice in Hollywood is so important. His perspective on combating old Hollywood, his vision on what Hollywood should be, kind of a lot of times aligns with how we see things. So yes, give this man all the opportunities. I just personally feel that this show went a little bit too far, but we can wait on that. What were your expectations, Clayton?
A little similar. At first I was like, I really don't need a show about this, and I wasn't interested at all. But then when we start seeing more about it and we saw the teaser for it, I was like, okay, let's do this. It looks and feels like Suicide Squad, so I think I'm gonna be down with it. Of course, we're huge fans of James Gunn here, so I was super excited to see him continue to bring things to life and be able to do what he wants, because it does seem like, unlike working for Marvel and therefore Disney, where his hands are tied a little bit, he's definitely free to kind of do what he wants here, which was intriguing at the time. But after kind of jumping into it, my opinion quickly changed. So I don't know, do you want to go ahead and jump into that, I guess?
My initial impressions as the show continued on, and I got to be honest with those who are listening, I did not finish catching up. I stopped after episode 4. I dipped, couldn't do it. There's too much content for me to watch and stay caught up on, that for me to go to, my opinion, to struggle through something for an hour, I just don't have that time in my life. So much of this humor for me was very cringe, and there wasn't enough going on plot wise to allow me to have the body armor to get through the cringe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's such a small scale story, which I think is appropriate. I don't think that a Peacekeeper show needs to be this big booming story that's somehow moving the overall plot into some other film along. Like, I don't think it needs to be that. But when you have something that is that small scale, that distraction or that simulation of like, oh, this is what that means, isn't there. So like when things are just cringe and just not hitting, it's hard. It just didn't vibe with. I know there's a lot of people who love this show, man. They love this show. There's like this whole meme joke about how people don't skip the end credits. I was trying to skip it the first time I watched it. I was like,
to watch it all the way through.
I was like, this is not good. It's lame. And again, people love it, and that's okay. But it's also okay that this did not vibe with me.
Yeah.
It's okay that I don't like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I do think that it does do things well. I think that James Gunn is a good storyteller. I think his music selection to complement the story he's telling and the moods he's trying to set are always on point. I really do like the songs that he's chosen and the soundtrack that he's delivering. But I do, and I think I might have said this to you off cast after the first couple episodes, I do kind of feel like this is straying more towards James Gunn before he quote unquote matured. So there was a long time. The whole reason he got fired from Marvel was because of all the old tweets that people started digging up, and he said some foul things that he was saying in an effort to be edgy, in an effort to be funny, that come across. I mean, we talked about it back then. It was not appropriate. I mean, we love James Gunn, but the things that he was tweeting was like, wow, you shouldn't have done that. So, however, unlike most of the internet, we learned to forgive and move on, and we still love James Gunn despite his shitty tweets back then.
Exactly.
But my point is that the humor sometimes feels that way, and I know he's not necessarily going that far, but I don't. It's hard to explain.
It feels like middle school boys
watching
being foul.
It does, yeah, it does, and it just feels like when you're in a room with when you're in a room with someone like that, it makes you feel weird, right? Like it's not funny. It just kind of makes you feel weird. And, you know, for those who've listened to this podcast for a long time, like, I don't normally shy away from really anything. Nothing really makes me uncomfortable. Nothing really grosses me out. It's just something about the way the dialogue and the jokes are presented in this show a lot of the time just really kind of makes me, and that's the only way I can describe it. I don't know. It's just like, I feel,
and I know that sometimes it's to serve a purpose, you know, like his dad is supposed to be like very unlikable, right?
Right.
Like he's supposed to be like he's very much supposed to be this thing, like this white supremacist, awful guy. So I'm not saying that, like, I don't know. So like I do know that like some jokes are because of that. It's just kind of gross, but also like, no, I just the whole sequence where he like had sex with the woman with the mullet was kind of gratuitous. I'm also at a point in my life where nudity in a story, I feel like is a cheap move most of the time. Like think of everything that you've ever watched. Has nudity or anything like that ever enhanced the story or like the characters? I'm not talking about like a love scene. Like people can have sex, but you don't have to like show it in a gratuitous way. Does it actually enhance like the story or move it along? So the fact that he's talking to this chick in the bathroom, I'm just like, I'm not a prude, but I'm just like, do we have to watch this for that long? Like, what's the purpose of it? And then they have the entire fight scene when she's naked. And it just, I don't know. Like, I don't know, Clayton. I'm not vibing with this show, man.
It's just not your vibe. Even all that aside, though, I don't even think that this is James Gunn's strongest work. I
Yeah.
definitely think Suicide Squad is much better. I definitely think Guardians 1 is much better. So I'm a little confused as to why the internet is like obsessed with it. Like, it's okay to really like something.
Hmm.
What I'm confused about is the amount of people saying that this is the best superhero content we've got. So they're saying this is better than all the Disney Plus shows. So
Right.
this is better than WandaVision. This is better than Loki. And I know Loki didn't, sit well with some people as far as just following it and being engaged, but WandaVision was like universally loved.
Hmm.
And I really don't think in any stretch that Peacemaker even comes close to it.
No,
Um,
I would rather watch the show Gotham than watch another episode of Peacemaker.
I don't know if I'd go that far because I've never watched Gotham and I have no desire to pull up another one. And I will watch Peacekeeper before I do that.
Yeah, that's where I sit with that.
Wow.
I just it is very strange. I do think that John Cena is adorable in real life on how like he loves that he had this opportunity. So he's like wearing the costume every chance that he gets. I just don't think he's a strong leading man. And that is just my opinion. I think that a lot of the jokes that he delivers just like sounds like someone who's trying to deliver a joke. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it doesn't sound like it's a character who's like naturally saying these things. Like it's like they're trying too hard for comedy. I think part of that has to do with the delivery of the actor to bring the script to life. I just don't think that John Cena is that strong of an actor to carry this thing.
I agree. Yeah. I don't know if it's just like John Cena's just got that like this great agent, or if Hollywood is just really trying hard to make him work. But I'm just not. I've never really been a fan of him in anything. And while I do think he does a good job as Peacekeeper, he's not a leading man. You're right. He's not. So
Yeah. So I love him in real life. He's a super positive man. Like if you follow him on Twitter, he's very.
I agreed with you until I saw a TikTok today. I guess he had like a reality TV show.
He did.
And I just watched a TikTok that showed like a clip of him coming home to his then girlfriend, fiance, wife, who cooked him dinner as a surprise. And he like kind of passive aggressively flipped out about how she was dirtying the kitchen. And like they didn't enjoy their meal because he was like worried about a wine glass sitting on like the stone countertop. Like he folded up a paper towel and put it underneath there and was passive aggressively talking about how he got this stone countertop so you could see it, and didn't like how all this food like was set out for him. And then she was washing all the dishes and he was like, did you get did you get water on the floor? And it's like a tile floor. And she's like, well, even if I got some drops, I'll clean it up. And he's like, well, even a couple drops will warp the floor. And apparently they're not together anymore. Apparently, according to the comments, everybody's like, this is why they're not together. Wow, I really see John Cena in a different light. Like, this was apparently serious. And I now also don't see him in such a positive light. But again, I don't know what this is from. I don't know how long ago it was.
It could have been. Can learn.
It could have been years ago. Yeah, he could have.
He doesn't age, so it could be 12 years ago.
Exactly. He's another not ager. He's like Paul Rudd, so it could have been from 10 years ago. And so benefit of the doubt. But it was definitely interesting to see that side of him, because all we see is like this adorable guy who's super excited to play Peacekeeper and super positive on Twitter. And so, anyways.
I think that another positive moving forward, I think Peacekeeper is as a work of, as a product for the DC stuff moving forward, Warner Brothers, is there's a lot of stuff that James Gunn has pushed into this as far as like costume design, special effects, even down to just mentioning strange things. Like one episode they mentioned Batfink, which is like this parallel Batmites. Yeah. Which is this parallel dimensional like creature that is obsessed with Batman and like hangs out with him and stuff. So like he's forcing all of these things from the comic books into lore, and whether or not they're ever actually addressed is up to Warner Brothers for sure. But he's at least laying the groundwork to say, like, we can enjoy the comics because they're comics. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's one thing James Gunn could be a good influence with the DC version of things is everything doesn't need to be like laughable and super hilarious, but it doesn't need to also be super serious, grim, and dark. Like, comic books are colorful, they're wacky, they deal with very strange things that like really cause you to like your suspension of disbelief be stretched to like the breaking point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to lean into those because uh, there's a reason why those properties have survived for so long. So you don't need to dumb it down. You don't need to try to quote streamline it for the every person.
Ground it. We gotta ground it.
So while Peacekeeper is not my vibe, I do think that James Gunn's presence within Warner Brothers is a good thing. And hopefully that combined with whatever The Rock is doing with Black Adam, we could be seeing a new era of the Warner Brothers take on the superhero genre.
Well, we know we're not getting Henry Cavill's Superman, and we're not getting probably a Batman, I guess, because Robert Pattinson's Batman's in a different situation.
Yeah, but your boy Dylan O'Brien is heavily rumored to be a front man for Nightwing.
Yeah, but that rumor's been around for a long time, and I recently saw a clip of an interview where he didn't even know who Nightwing was.
Yeah, on a
Have you
Maze
seen
Runner
that
clip.
Yeah, it was a
he
Maze
doing
Runner
Maze
clip.
Runner.
I think it was
Yeah,
one
and
of,
he
I
was
think it
like,
was the
"Oh,
newest
that
Maze
is-"
Runner, so it wasn't necessarily that old. But he's like, "Who is that? Tell me who that is." So he had the interviewer like explain Nightwing to him.
Yeah, you know, it never amounted to anything. But one of my biggest regrets as a nerd anticipating things was how against I was on the idea of Adam Driver being cast for Nightwing, because there was a point in time where before he was Kylo Ren, he was going to be the actor playing Nightwing in Adam McKay's Nightwing film that they were making. But when that hit just production hell, he no longer was attached to the project, and he went on to do Kylo Ren. And then that's whenever I saw how good of an actor he was. At the time, I was a douchebag, and I was like, he's not attractive enough to be Dick Grayson, because Dick Grayson is just this like
Pretty boy.
handsome stud.
Yeah.
But much like how when you get to know someone, they get more attractive. Once I actually paid attention to Adam Driver's acting ability, I was like, oh, he is a hottie with
Once
a
you got to know
body.
him, he started. Oh my god.
That 6 started looking like an 8 real quick.
Real quick. Take that shirt off, boy. Let me see them wide shoulders.
He's like Spider-Verse Kingpin when he takes his shirt off.
Still, some of the best memes came from that.
He is the personification of the villain from G Gundam, where he's like super skinny in his suit and he takes it off and he's like, I've been working on my body.
Oh gosh. Oh goodness. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say that wouldn't just be completely regurgitating what we've already said. I agree that typically WB tends to, and even DC fans want to see like a more gritty and dark and grounded version of their heroes, and it's just like, can we just let them be what they are?
Yeah, because here's the thing. The best villains in Batman's Rogues Gallery are not human. Mm-hmm. And you can't do those characters in a grounded story. Well, grounded in the sense of like a Nolan film.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine doing like Man-Bat in a Nolan type film? It wouldn't. No. It wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't fly.
So needless to say, despite some of the positive things that we have brought to the table, especially about James Gunn himself, we probably won't finish, or I probably, at least, I don't want to speak for Corbin, even though I think I probably can finish the show. It's just not worth my time. I'm not vibing with it enough. And like you said, I got too many other things to watch. I actually, speaking of other things to watch, and not to go on a crazy tangent, I started watching Netflix has a new Korean zombie show called We Are All Dead, and it's pretty good.
I'll need to check that out.
If you like what Korea's been doing, you probably will like the show. I think it was like number 2 on Netflix. So
Nice.
anyway, anything else to say about Peacekeeper, the DCEU, James Gunn, anything?
No.
Okay.
Nothing. Just that James Gunn's from St. Louis, so STL pride, baby.
That's right. All right, folks. Well, we appreciate you checking in with us. If you like what we do, scroll on down and give us a rating. Again, that really helps us get in front of new ear holes, and you can do this on Apple and on Spotify. If you really like what we do, go over to patreon.com/thenerdosphere, where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. Until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.
Toodle.